Much depends on your reply. Gwendolyn, your common sense is invaluable. Mr. Moncrief! Kindly answer me the following question. Why did you pretend to be my guardian's brother?
In order that I might have an opportunity of meeting you.
That certainly seems a satisfactory explanation, does it not?
Yes, dear, if you can believe him.
Well, I don't. But that doesn't affect the wonderful beauty of his answer.
True, in matters of great importance, style, not sincerity, is a vital thing. Mr. Worthing, what explanation can you offer me for pretending to have a brother? Was it in order to come up to town to see me as often as possible?
Well, can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have great doubts upon the subject, and I intend to crush them. Now is not the time for German skepticism. Their excuses seem to be quite satisfactory, especially Mr. Worthing's. His seems to have the stamp of truth upon it.
I am more than content with what Mr. Moncrief said. His voice alone seems to inspire one of absolute credulity.
So you think we should forgive them?
Yes. I mean, no. There are principles at stake that one cannot surrender.
But which one of us should tell them? The task is not an easy one.
Could we not both speak at the same time?
An excellent idea. I nearly always speak at the same time as others. Will you take the time from me?
Certainly. Your Christian names are still an insuperable barrier. That is all.
Our Christian names? Is that all? But we are going to be christened this afternoon. I am.
To please me, you are ready to face this fearful ordeal.
I am.
How absurd to talk of the equality of sexes when matters of self-sacrifice are concerned. Men are infinitely beyond us.
We are.
They have their moments of physical courage, of which we women know absolutely nothing.
Darling,
Darling.
Oh, good heavens!
Gwendolyn, what does this mean?
merely that I'm engaged to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Come, sit down. Come, sit down. Physical hesitation in the young is a sign of mental decay. In the old, physical weakness. Mr. Worthing, apprised of my daughter's sudden flight, your trusty maid, whose confidences I purchased with a small coin, I came at once via the luggage train. Her unhappy father believes that she is in a longer than usual lecture at the university education scheme on the topic of the influence of permanent income on thought. I do not intend to undeceive him. I have never undeceived him on anything. I would consider it wrong. But of course, sir, you will clearly understand that all communication with my daughter will cease from this moment on. On this point, as on all points, I am firm.
I am engaged to be married to Gwendolyn, Lady Bracknell.
You are nothing of the kind. And now, as regards Algernon. Algernon!
What? Aunt Augusta?
May I inquire, is this the house in which your invalid friend Mr. Bunbury resides?
Oh no, Bunbury doesn't live here. Bunbury is somewhere else at present. In fact, Bunbury is dead.
Dead? When did he die? That was certainly very sudden.
Oh, I killed Bunbury this afternoon. I mean, Bunbury died.
And how did he die?
Bunbury? Oh, he was quite exploded.
Exploded? Was he the victim of some revolutionary outrage? I had no idea he was interested in social legislation. If so, he is well punished.
My dear Aunt Augusta, what I mean is that Bunbury was found out. The doctors found out that Bunbury could not live. That is what I mean. So Bunbury died.
Well, he had great confidence in his physician's opinion, person whose hand my nephew Algernon is holding in what seems to me to be an unnecessarily friendly manner.
Well, that lady is Miss Cecily Cardew, my ward.
Well, I'm engaged to be married to Cecily, Aunt Augusta.
I beg your pardon.
Oh, Mr. Moncrief and I are engaged to be married, Lady Bracknell.
But I do not know. There's something peculiarly exciting about the air in this particular part of Hertfordshire. But the number of engagements seems to me to be above the proper average that statistics have laid out for our guidance. However, I believe that some preliminary inquiry on my part would not be out of place, Mr. Worthing. Is Miss Cardew in any way connected with the major railway lines in London? I only seek information. Until yesterday, I had no idea that there were any families or persons whose origin was a terminus.
Miss Cecily Cardew is the granddaughter to the late Mr. Thomas Cardew of 149 Belgrave Square, SW, Gervais Park, Dorking, Surrey, and the Spore in Fifeshire, NB.
That is not unsatisfactory. 3 addresses always inspires confidence, even in a tradesman. But how can I be sure of their proper authenticity?
And I have carefully preserved the court guides of the period. They are open to your inspection, Lady Bracknell.
I have known of strange errors in this publication.
Well, Miss Cardew's family solicitors are Messrs. Markby, and Markby.
Well, Markby. They are at the top of their profession. Indeed, I know one of the Mr. Markbys attends dinner parties. Yeah, so far I am satisfied.
Oh, how extremely kind of you, Lady Bracknell.
Indeed.
I have also in my possession, you will be pleased to hear, certificates of Miss Cardew's birth, baptism, whooping cough, registration, vaccination, confirmation, and the measles, both the German and English varieties.
My, a life crowded with incident. Perhaps a little too exciting for a young girl. I am not in favor of premature experiences. Gwendolen, the time approaches for our departure. We haven't a moment to lose. One little matter of form, though, Mr. Worthing. Does Miss Cardew have any little fortune?
Well, about £130,000 in the funds, that is all. Goodbye, Lady Bracknell, so pleased to have seen you.
One moment. 130,000. And in the funds. Well, Miss Cardew was quite an attractive young lady now that I know. So few girls have any really solid qualities. Qualities that will last and improve with time. We live in, I regret to say, in an age of surfaces. Come over here, dear. What a pretty girl. Your dress is sadly simple, and your hair is almost as nature might have left it. But that can easily be altered. A French maid can make marvelous changes in a very short period of time. Would you mind terribly turning around? Please. Dear, it was your profile was interesting. Ah, yes, just as I expected. Your profile has definite social possibilities. It's delightful. There's 2 weak points in our society right now: a wanted principle and a wanted profile. So a little higher here. Oh, style is mainly determined by how the chin is worn. It's worn very high at the moment. Out of the
Yes, Aunt Augusta.
Miss Cardew's profile has definite social possibilities.
Cecily is the sweetest, dearest, prettiest girl in the whole world, and I don't care 2 pence about social possibilities.
Dear, never speak disrespectfully of society. Only people who can't get into it do that. Well, dear Miss Cardew, you do know that Algernon is only his debts to depend upon. But I do not approve of mercenary marriages. When I met Lord Bracknell and married Lord Bracknell, I had no fortune whatsoever, but I didn't dream of letting that stand in my way. So, I believe I must give my consent.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Cecily, make this
Thank you, Lady Bracknell.
That was in the way. Oh dear. And you may call me Aunt Augusta from now on.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
And I think that the marriage should take place quite soon.
Thank you,
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
I do not approve long engagements. They allow people to get to know each other's character. Before marriage, which I think is never advisable.
I beg your pardon for interrupting you, Lady Bracknell, but this engagement is quite out of the question. I am Miss Cartew's guardian, and she cannot marry without my consent until she comes of age. Until that time, I decline to give my consent.
On what grounds, may I inquire? Algernon is excessively, if not ostentatiously, an eligible young man. He has nothing, but he looks everything. What more could you desire?
Now it pains me very much to have to speak frankly to you, Lady Bracknell, but the fact is that I do not approve at all of your nephew's moral character. I suspect him of being untruthful.
Untruthful? My nephew Algernon? Impossible. He is an Oxonian.
But I fear there can be no possible doubt about the matter. Well, this afternoon, during my temporary absence in London on an important question of romance, he obtained admission to my house under the false pretense of being my brother. Under an assumed name he drank, I've just been informed by my butler, an entire pint bottle of my Perrier Jute Fruit 89, a wine I was specially preserving for myself. Continuing his disgraceful deception, he succeeded in the course of the afternoon in alienating the affections of my only ward. He subsequently stayed to tea where he devoured every single muffin. What makes this conduct all the more heartless is that he was perfectly well aware from the first that I have no brother, that I have never had a brother, and that I don't intend to have a brother, not even of any kind. I distinctly told him so myself yesterday afternoon.
Well, Mr. Worthing, after careful consideration, I have decided to completely overlook Algernon's conduct towards you.
Very generous of you, Lady Bracknell. However, my own decision remains unalterable. I decline to give my consent.
My dear child, come over here. How old are you, dear?
Well, I'm really only 18, but I always admit to 20 at evening parties.
You are perfectly right to do so. No woman should ever be completely accurate about her age. It seems so calculating. So, 18, admitting to 20 at parties. Well, it won't be long before you'll be of age and free from the restraints of tutelage. So I really don't think that your guardian's consent is very much importance.
I beg your pardon, Lady Bracknell, for interrupting you again, but I think it is only fair to tell you that according to the terms of her grandfather's will, Miss Cardew does not legally come of age until she is, well, 35.
Now, I don't think that's a grave objection. 35 is a very attractive age. London society is full of women of the highest birth who have been 35 and remain so for years. Of their own free will. There's no reason to think Cecily wanted to be more attractive at that age than she is now. Plus, it would be a large accumulation of property.
Algie, could you wait for me until I was 35?
Of course I could, Cecily. You know I could.
Yes, I felt it instinctively, but I couldn't wait all that time. I hate waiting, even 5 minutes for anything. It always makes me rather cross. I am not punctual myself, I know, but I do like punctuality in others. And waiting, even to be married, is quite out of the question.
Then what is to be done, Cecily?
I don't know, Mr. Moncrief.
I'm just a somewhat impatient nature. I beg of you, sir, to reconsider your decision.
But my dear Lady Bracken, the matter is entirely in your own hands. As soon as you consent to my marriage with Gwendolyn, I will most gladly allow your nephew to form an alliance with my ward.
Well, of course, you know that what you suggest is out of the question.
Then a passionate celibacy is all that any of us can look forward to.
That is not the destiny I propose for Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn, come.
Everything is quite ready for the christenings.
Christenings? Isn't that somewhat premature?
Look at these gentlemen have expressed high immediate baptism.
At their age? It is grotesque and irreligious. How do not I forbid you to be baptized? That is extreme excess, and you know that Lord Bracken will be very displeased to find that's how you spent your time and your money.
So there to be no baptisms at all this afternoon.
I don't think that as things are now, it would be of much use to either of us, Dr. Choslow.
Well, I'm grieved to hear such sentiments from you, Mr. Werning. They savor of the heretical views of the Anabaptists, views which I have refuted in full of my unpublished sermons. But, as your present mood seems to be one quite secular, I will return to the church at once. Indeed, I've just been informed by the pew openers that for the past hour and a half, Miss Prisms were waiting for me in the vestry.
Miss Prism, did you mention a Miss Prism?
Yes, I'm on my way to
Pray,
see her.
one moment of your time, please. Sir, this matter may be of vital importance for Lord Bracken and myself. Is this Miss Prism a female of a somewhat dour aspect, remotely connected with education?
She is the most wonderful and cultivated of ladies.
But obviously it's the same person. What position does she have in your household?
I am celibate, madam.
Miss Prism, Lady Bracken, has been for the last 3 years Miss Cardew's esteemed governess and valued companion.
But in spite of what I hear about her, I do need to see her as soon as possible. Let me send for.
She approaches now. She is nigh.
I was told you expected me in the vestry, dear Canon. I've been waiting for you there for an hour and 3/4. Oh,
Prism, chair. Come, Prism. Prism. Where is that baby? 28 years ago, you left Lord Bracknell's house at 104 Upper Grover Street in charge of a perambulator. The perambulator contained a baby of the male sex. You never returned. A few weeks later, after an elaborate investigation by the Metropolitan Police, that perambulator was found at midnight on a corner in Bayswater. It contained a manuscript of a 3-volume novel of more than usually revolting sentimentality. But there was no baby. Prism, where is that baby?
Lady Bracken, I admit with shame I do not know. I only wish I did. The plain facts of the case are these. On the morning in question, a day which is forever branded in my memory, I prepared as usual to take the baby out of its perambulator. Also with me a rather large and capacious handbag in which I had intended to place a manuscript of the work of fiction I had written myself, considering my few offhand hours. In a moment of mental abstraction, which I could never forgive myself, I deposited the manuscript in the bassinet, and I placed the baby in the handbag.
But where did you deposit the handbag?
Do not ask me, Mr. Worth.
Miss Prism, this is a matter of no small importance to me. I insist on knowing where you deposited the handbag that contained that infant.
I left it in the cloakroom of one of the larger railway stations in London.
Which railway station?
Victoria, the Brighton line!
I must retire to my room for a moment, Gwendolyn. Wait here for me.
I will wait here all of my life if you are not too long.
What do you think this all means, Lady Bracknell?
I dare not even suspect. Well, I'm sure it's no surprise that in families of high position, strange occurrences are not supposed to occur. It is hardly the thing.
Uncle Jack seems strangely agitated.
Your uncle has very emotional nature.
Sometimes having an argument. Dislike arguments are always involved. And sometimes convincing.
It is not.
The suspense is terrible. I hope it will last.
Is this the handbag? Examine it carefully before you speak. The happiness of more than one life depends on your answer.
Well, certainly seems to be mine. Yes, here is the injury received from the upset of a Gower Street omnibus in younger and happier days. And here is the stain on the lining from the explosion of a temperance beverage, an incident which occurred in Leamington. And here on the lock are my initials. I had quite forgotten that in a rare mood of extravagance I had them placed there. The bag is undoubtedly mine. I'm so pleased to have it so unexpectedly returned to me after all these years. It's been such an inconvenience to live without it.
Miss Prism, boys restored to you that this handbag. I was the baby you placed in it.
You?
Yes! Mother!
Mr. Worthing, I am unmarried!
Unmarried. Well, I do not deny that that is a serious matter. However, who am I to cast a stone against one who has suffered? Cannot repentance wipe out an act of folly? Why should there be one law for men and another for women? Mother, I forgive you!
Mr. Worthing, there has been an error! There is the lady who can tell you who you really are.
Lady Bracknell, I hate to seem inquisitive, but would you kindly inform me who I am?
Well, I am not altogether sure you'll be pleased with the information I have to give you. You are the son of my sister, Mrs. Moncrief. Consequently, you are Algernon's elder brother.
Algernon's elder brother. Then I have a brother after all. I knew I had a brother. I always said I had a brother. Algy, Cecily, how could you have ever doubted that I had a brother? A Dr. Chasuble, my unfortunate brother. A Miss Prism, my unfortunate brother. Gwendolyn, my unfortunate brother. Algy, you young scoundrel. You have to treat me with more respect in the future. You have never behaved to me like a brother in all your life.
Well, not till today, old boy, I did. I did my best, however, though I was out of practice.
But what owner are you now that you've become someone else?
Well, I had quite forgotten that point. Your decision on the subject of my name is irrevocable, I suppose?
I never change except for in my affections. What a noble nature you have, Gwendolyn.
But the matter had better be cleared up at once. Augusta, a moment. At the moment when Miss Prism placed me into the handbag, had I been christened already?
Every luxury that money could buy, including christening, had been lavished upon you by fond and doting parents.
But then I was christened.
Yes.
That is settled. Now, what name was I given? Let me know the most.
Well, as the eldest son, you would definitely have been christened after your father.
Yes, but what was my father's Christian name?
Well, at the moment I cannot recall the general's Christian name. He became quite eccentric in his older years, but that was because of living in the Indian climate and marriage and indigestion and things like that.
Actually, can't you recollect what our father's Christian name was?
My dear boy, we were never on speaking terms. He died before I was born.
But, well, his name would appear in the army list of the period, I suppose. Aunt Augusta.
Well, he was a man of peace, except in his domestic life, but his name would surely be in any military directory, yes.
But the army list of the last 50 years are here! These delightful records should have been my constant study!
Oh, joy.
M. Reynolds, Mallow, Moxwell, Magley, ghastly names they have. Markby, Migsby, Mobs, Moncrief. 1869, Christian names. Ernest John. Wait a minute, I always told you, didn't I? My name is Earnest. My name is Ernest after all. I mean, naturally it is Ernest.
You could have no other name.
Gwendolen, it is a terrible thing for a man to find out suddenly that all his life he has been speaking nothing but the truth. Can you forgive me?
I can, for I feel you are sure to change.
My own one.
Letitia, Friedrich, at last!
Cecily, at last!
Gwendolen, and that?
My nephew, I feel that you're displaying signs of triviality.
On the contrary, Aunt Augusta. I just now realized for perhaps the first time in my life the vital importance of being earnest.